Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today is February 28th, 2024, and a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. I just wanted to pop in for a few minutes and talk about something that I'm seeing more people are starting to recognize, and that is the need to set boundaries. And what I think the problem is in that regard, the empaths are really starting to come into their power, and they're really starting to see the need that they want to stand up. But because they are so nice, they never want to offend anybody else. But this isn't about offending anybody. It's about knowing the rights, your rights, where they start and stop, and somebody else's start and stop. So I just wanted to talk and just mention a few things about boundaries, right? Because we need boundaries more than ever. But these empaths, what's happening with them? The people who are not empathic, they can smell empaths a mile away. They know that you're probably decent, you're kind, you're generous, you'll give them attention if that's what they need, you'll put their needs first, and they're going to suck you guys dry. And what is really important, and one thing I think is missing, we were not taught that we have the right to set boundaries with people. And whether it was from being born into a dysfunctional family, whether it was your education that you went through, and maybe certain teachers ran you down, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter what caused it, but you have the right to set them for yourself. People who are takers lack boundaries. And I've been hearing this more and more, and I even wrote about it in my book. I'm going to talk a bit about that. But people who are takers lack boundaries. They don't care that you're giving more in the relationship, the friendship, whether it's a career position. They don't care if it's they don't care what the relationship is. If you're willing to give, they're willing to take. And they do it usually without remorse. And as we're watching shifts happen globally. We're watching power plays happen, but some people are getting desperate, and for them to get the goals met, they have to push things through, which means they're going to start testing people's boundaries. We're seeing this a lot. Boundaries involve intuition, feeling inside yourself and knowing when, no, this just doesn't feel right. It also involves self-esteem, which means knowing you're worthy, that you're worthy of saying what you want to do. And what else was I going to say? And knowing what your needs and wants are. So I'm not going to go into breaking down the difference between needs and wants, but it's okay to know what your needs and wants are. And if somebody keeps transgressing or putting their needs ahead of yours, or making the conversation always about them, and an example of that would be you start telling a story and they go, oh, and then they have to one up you because they have a story. But the whole goal of that isn't them telling the story necessarily. It's about making it about them. So I really want to help people just to identify the need that it's okay to set your boundaries. I'm working through a lot with a lot of people right now that are going through this. So needing to control others is a sure sign of boundary issues. And that's kind of where I was going with this. I was at a city council meeting yesterday and just watching the head games get played by the councillors, and they assume the people in the audience don't know what's going on, but it's not the point. They control the narrative, they control the microphones, they control who gets to speak when, they get to control the rules of engagement, even though they don't apply to them. So they say. But anyways, I just wanted to go through and explain some of this. So external causes of boundaries, some poor boundaries, you can tell. This is what you can tell when somebody's doing this to you. I'm just going to go through a few of these. They're trying to convince you that their lies are the truth, and they're lying to you, and they know they're lying to you. But what they're hoping is that you don't know they know you're lying to them. People trying to convince you that they know better for you than what you know for yourself. This is going to be huge, especially in Canada, because they are going after people's children. And the one thing that they have done already, they've changed the name in Waterloo Region. They've changed the name from parent to caregiver. Now you're hearing the word caregiver. Caregiver can be any kind of government worker who's going to be dealing with your children. I don't know what qualifications they have. I've not seen that listed anywhere, but somebody trying to convince you, maybe your child needs a medical procedure. The idea though is when you trust your intuition, you make the decision. And an example of setting a boundary might be, well, I'm going to have to think about this, or I want a second opinion. But know that you have the right to set those boundaries. So another one, people trying to convince you that their agenda should be your agenda. I love that one. People trying to control you or controlling the outcome of a situation that affects you. And again, this is all part of boundary setting. But when you can sense somebody is pushing your boundaries, and I'm going to use an example. I'm working with somebody right now, and he had to go. He knew he had an appointment in the morning that he had to end the date or whatever for the night. And this person, so this is a boundary theft, is time, stealing time. So this person, he said, just kept working him and talking. Finally, he took her home, but she wouldn't get out of the car. So he ended up being over an hour later than when he wanted to. But she knew exactly what she was doing. And I really hope people stop giving offside people the benefit of the doubt or making excuses for them. But when I told him, no, you were setting a boundary, you were in the right, you had the right to say, I have to get up in the morning, I need to go. But it's funny because if we aren't consciously aware of what a boundary is and that we have the right to set them and we have the right to say no, we have the right to say not now, we have the right to make our own decisions, people are going to start trampling over us. And when I'm not, I don't think I'm going to get trampled on, but who knows, maybe at one point I know I did, but it's a learned art. Boundary setting is a learned art, knowing when your rights start and stop, but knowing first and foremost that you have the right to set them is so important. People who choose to remain in denial to a situation as they would rather convince you that the situation isn't real in order to keep them from awakening to the truth. Little did I know when I wrote this almost 10 years ago, I started writing this, that there's some people in denial and they don't want to wake up. So they're going to want to try to convince you to stay asleep so their world doesn't have to change. You don't have to believe them that they don't know. And you can let them pretend they don't know and wish them well and wish them away. But it doesn't mean you do it out of malice or out of hurt, but you don't let people talk you into anything. People who would like you not to trust yourself, so you'll engage in their nonsense. So the best example of that, in my opinion, would be like the drama queens, right? They want to engage you in their drama so that you can't just walk away and have a good time yourself. So they really want to engage in the nonsense, because when you're engaged in the nonsense, how do you know they're not showing you nonsense over here, but doing sleight of hand over here and trying to take something that you don't see, right? So it's really important that we understand what these boundaries are all about, that we have the right to have them. And I'm going to read just a few things, just to give an example. I'm just going to touch lightly on this. What are boundaries? Boundaries are a set of parameters that tell you how to treat others and how to let others treat you. The problem with the empaths, they don't have a problem. They don't treat people poorly, but they accept poor behavior. So I'm going to try to turn this on to more of a slant for the empaths. Boundaries are based on our internal guidance system that tells us what behaviors are right and wrong in the eyes of our consciousness and how we interact with others. If it hurts you, it's not maybe that you're too sensitive. Maybe that person is crossing your boundary. But it's okay to start looking at what these boundaries are so that you understand the people around you. I usually try to get people to name 3 people in their life, and I give them a series of questions to ask. Once they start going through those questions, they realize who they have boundary issues with. But usually the people I'm working with aren't the takers. They're the ones who keep giving up and get guilted into doing what somebody else wants. Okay, why do we need boundaries? Boundaries have our backs. The reasons we need boundaries is because when we consciously identify with what we want and how we want to interact with others, we feel safe and we can express ourselves honestly. And what we're seeing right now, we're seeing it in the US. A person without boundaries is like a country without borders. If a person doesn't have boundaries, they wouldn't lock the door at night. They wouldn't think they have the right to protect themselves. So there's a lot of ways to look at it physically, emotionally, various ways. But that's a really key point, that a country without borders is like a person without boundaries. People are going to come in and they're going to walk on you. They're going to crap on you. They're going to test your buttons, push your buttons and test you to see how far they can push you. And if you don't stand up for yourself, it doesn't matter if they're going to rob you, whatever they're going to do, they're just going to take advantage. So it's really important that we know that why we need boundaries. You have the right to protect yourself emotionally, verbally, physically, all the different ways, right? So what is the difference between tolerance and boundaries? You notice there's always a group of people that says, tolerance, everybody, tolerance. Those are usually the people that are either very overtly or covertly trying to push your boundaries. They're trying to put something past you, and they want you to not get excited, calm down, whatever they're telling you to do. They're doing that because they want to maintain the control. So they're trying to go, tolerance, everybody, we're all going to get along here. Meanwhile, they're trying to slip their nonsense past you. And I saw a bit of that last night, but I'm gonna go into that in another video. How can boundaries protect you? So boundaries can protect you because intuitively when somebody is hurting or could be threatening you or going offside. The boundaries can protect you because it can also give you an out when you say, no, I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in you. I don't want a relationship with you in whatever friendship, capacity, acquaintance. Boundaries can help in a situation where somebody you may be communicating with has poor or non-existent boundaries. And it really stinks sometimes when you have to be the grown-up, but sometimes you have to be the grown-up, even though you're not the one crossing over on somebody else's boundaries. And, you know, I'd rather see you be the grown-up and know where your rights are, that you can defend yourself without getting aggressive, without being rude, but just, you know, your own assertiveness, building up on your own assertiveness. I would rather see people do that and just know that the person you're dealing with doesn't have boundaries. What I'm really noticing right now is how many people are willing to give others the benefit of the doubt. These people know what they're doing. They know you don't know, or they're hoping you don't know. And I really think it's time we stop giving others the benefit of the doubt, because when you do, you give your power away. Why do we have to assume that everybody's been hurt from an early age and we have to make excuses for them? I just don't understand that. We're all adults now, and maybe it's time the adults started acting in more mature ways. So I just wanted to give a few examples of, like I said, about boundaries. And so what's happening right now, people are really pushing because this NWO is coming through, and I think they're going to start getting desperate. And I think they're going to start testing people more and more. And it doesn't matter. We know it's coming in at all aspects. It's coming through environmental, food, water, your cities. You know, at this meeting last night, they're actually talking about they're going to start monitoring and reducing the water that the people in the city live in, that we can all go to a new rec center and shower there instead, because the water in the city rec center isn't going to come against your home credit score. Like these people aren't good at lying, but at least we're starting to see where this is all going, right? So anyways, I just wanted to share a little bit with you, and know you have the right to stand up for yourself. You have the right to defend yourself, whether verbally, physically, it doesn't matter. You have the right to hold your ground and enjoy life. But there's some people that's not what they want. They want what you have. It doesn't matter if it's in human form or whether it's belongings, money, it doesn't matter. But it's not theirs to take. That's yours. And it's really important that people start to understand that you have the right to say no to other people's nonsense. So if you're looking to strengthen your boundaries, if you don't have somebody that you know that can sit here and look at your situation with you and give you pointers of how to do it, find somebody who can. If you're interested in working with me, I'm usually pretty quick at being able to spot where the concerns are. I never tell anybody what to do. That's not my place, but I give them suggestions so that they can go and decide what they want to do, how they want to proceed. But that's the best way to set your boundaries, is start practicing them. So anyways, I hope you like this message. And if so, please hit the subscribe and share button and share it with people, even if you know they need to set boundaries and it's not you. Share it and let other people know that they have the right. Because what I find is people, when they hear it from somebody else, it's like the NLP programming. You hear it from enough people, you're going to start to believe it, that you have the right to set a boundary. You have the right to say no. So that's where I'm hoping that we're going to strengthen ourselves with whatever nonsense is planned for us and coming our way. So anyways, happy February 28th, everybody. I know tomorrow's a leap year, and we'll see you in March. Take care.